Welcome to Winter of Wellness 2015, where top healers, scientists, and teachers are bringing you tools and inspiration to help you create optimal health for your body, your mind, your heart, and your soul. We appreciate you sharing this information with your friends and family. And now, your host, Ben Hart.
Well, welcome everyone back to the Winter of Wellness. This is Ben Hart of the Shift Network, and I'm very excited to be your host for our session today on Travel Wise, Healthy, and Protected Each Winter with our special guest, Dr. Robyn Benson. Now, for those of you who don't know Robyn, she has 23 years she's been helping patients achieve optimal, radiant, and sustainable health. She brings a wealth of services, including acupuncture, herbs, IV therapies, and leading-edge energy medicine, and as well as her caring and intuitive understanding of what will help you with any health issue you may have. Robyn is known by many to be the health detective with life-changing solutions. And in addition to building a 21st century healthcare center 10 years ago, which is the home of 25 practitioners, her book, The Healthy Traveler's Guide, 8 Pathways to Smart and Conscious Travel, will be available in June. Robyn, thanks so much for being here. Welcome.
Well, it's great to be here. Really great to be here.
Beautiful. Well, I've had the pleasure of interviewing you in the past, and definitely a number of the tips you shared have stuck with me over many, many months or even years by now, and so
Fantastic.
I look forward to diving in with you now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Well, this topic is great. It's certainly a very important one and an unusual one, so I'm excited to dive in. So just, my first question is, what are some of the main ways that we can, travel healthy, whether we're, going by plane, by car, by bus in the winter? What's most important for us to keep in mind?
Well, I just want to mention and just remind everybody that this is the time that most people tend to be more vulnerable in terms of their health. Pretty much from Halloween seems to kind of set the stage really for the next 6 months, right into March and April, with increased sugar. And not only does that happen, but we tend to be indoors more from October until March. And so there's just so much we can do to prepare our body for travel, literally, because people travel more now than ever, whether it's by car or bus or plane, and we tend to do it, leaving our busy lives and just saying, okay, I'm just going to go take a plane ride to New York, and forget that our vessel, our bodies really need a lot of extra TLC in the winter months, because first of all, when we're indoors more often, we're more prone to you name it, infection of any sort. There's a lot with indoor life comes more indoor pollution because we have forced air. We don't get much of the fresh air. We're not getting the outdoor oxygen, into our homes in the way that we do when we're outside more and other times of the year. So it's really important to think about the food that we're eating more in the winter months than I'd even say in the summer months, in the warmer months, that we really want to really practice really good healthy choices. So food from the earth, that's probably something you remember me mentioning before, but in terms of self-care, we need to nourish ourselves with food, greens from the earth. Any food that Mother Nature gives to us pretty much is a good and wise choice. So in the winter months, not to forget that, even though we're craving more warm-natured foods, we still need, as much as possible to make choices that come from nature. And so that's a huge, huge piece. Not to forget that, because, again, we go for some, cozy, nurturing foods that might not fit this description that I'm talking about. So more packaged foods and canned foods and convenience foods. So really that's number one. And number two, that we really need to think about what type of minerals and vitamins that are really more necessary in the winter months. I firmly believe, especially with travel. So I like, for most of my regular people who are getting on planes and trains on a regular basis or happen to be in a car a lot, to make sure you have your vitamin D levels checked. Make sure that you're well above 50, which is not very common, in fact. But if you just want to ensure healthy travel on a regular basis, you want your vitamin D levels to be well over 50. So make sure you ask your doctor, your nurse practitioner, or whatever practitioner you're working with, that you get this tested. And I think that there's more and more research is coming out about vitamin D in terms of not just your immunity, but also your emotions and your moods. And if you want to be very proactive in today's changing world, so you're not a target for many of the known diseases that are more prevalent now than ever before. So vitamin D is critical. Those are just a couple of things. Also, certain minerals are really important in terms of magnesium and zinc especially, because I think most of the world, I find, when I test people, are deficient in those essential minerals. And so those are just some of the real highlights I want to mention, that when it's wintertime, you're indoors more, and you're traveling on a regular basis, that you want to take into consideration more than other times of the year.
That's great. So in terms of those minerals, those vitamins, with vitamin D, you're saying it's best to test it before just starting to take some sort of supplement. And would you recommend the same for magnesium and zinc, just testing everything and seeing where you're at, or are there certain supplements you think everybody should be taking?
I do. I think that, especially in the winter months, I think a healthy multivitamin would be great. I like more of a food-based product than some of the synthetic versions that are out there. So in other words, don't go to Costco. I don't want to say that in all cases, but a lot of, you're going to Kmart, you're going into Walgreens. I mean, people are just buying, multivitamins that have food colorings and all kinds of toxic additives that, so I'm definitely not saying to stay away from that stuff. So read your labels. So zinc is something that I test in my office with all my patients, like almost every single person, even as a new patient. What I do here, because it's easier and less expensive than you have to work with certain blood tests to measure zinc. But what I do is I actually give people liquid zinc. And if it's like water to them, then I know that they're deficient in zinc and they need to take it, because there's over 200 enzymatic reactions in your body that are zinc dependent. So anything from prostate health to are you going to be more susceptible to the common cold, to your sex organs, to your lung function, all are dependent on zinc. Your vision is zinc dependent. Even your auditory abilities are dependent on zinc. And again, I have to say, honestly, Ben, about 80% or more of every single patient that I test is deficient in zinc. So it's no wonder that we're more susceptible to the common cold, the flu. And so when I just help people upregulate their zinc levels, they're just going to walk around with a lot more confidence. So that's a big message of my talk today in this Winter of Wellness presentation is I want you to go through your whole year confident about your own health, but especially these winter months. You want to, again, have zinc levels that are optimized. And for most people, I'll say take 30 milligrams of zinc every day. And if you happen to travel on a regular basis, if you're a pilot, if you're a frequent business traveler, you want to take additional zinc. Even if you test okay for it, taking additional zinc will be advantageous. So zinc and then magnesium is another mineral that most of the population is deficient in, and that's involved with lots of different reactions, in terms of the health of your organ systems and your immune system and your heart function. So that's something you can measure in a blood test, but I would just say making sure that you're getting at least 600 milligrams of magnesium will be another way to have that, to walk around with confidence, knowing that you're optimizing your immune system.
Great. Thank you for that. I am taking notes as you speak. Beautiful. And just to track back to what you were saying earlier around the foods and making sure to be eating healthy foods from the earth, I'm wondering if there are any specific foods that you think around the winter months are most supportive or people might forget about that would be really beneficial to bring into our diets.
Well, in terms of, vegetables, cooking your vegetables just lightly, so there's still some really healthy enzymes. The more you cook something, if it's overcooked, you're really degrading the excellent benefits of that food. So don't stay away from vegetables in the winter months. I mean, it's something that sometimes people just say, I don't even think about eating vegetables. I want something warmer. But so making soups, again, where the vegetables are cooked very lightly, would be a great suggestion. I love the idea of definitely having good sources of protein each and every day. So if you're not vegetarian, making sure you're getting grass-fed, non-GMO sources. Very important, because we need those amino acids when we're indoors more and we're in the energy of frequencies that we're not designed for. And I definitely want to talk a little bit about that we really want to make sure that we're nourishing our body and getting the amino acids from essential proteins. I also want to mention healthy fats. Really, really critical all year long, but a lot, especially in these winter months too, to make sure you're getting enough, good coconut oil. I'm a big fan of grass-fed sourced butter. Fantastic, because every cell in your body is, the cell wall is 50% lipids, fats. So the big message here for winter wellness too is that we want healthy fats every single day to promote healthy moods, which is important, and then healthy moods, and also a healthy immune system is dependent on really good sources of fat. So those are some of my suggestions. I could, go on and on. But colorful, think about, looking at a rainbow of colors. So choosing foods that are from the earth and are colorful, and just being very creative, again, with soups. And just since it is, in terms of Chinese medicine, it is a time of year that we want warm natured foods. We want to help our kidneys function even better, because that has a lot to do with our essence, and the core energy of our body comes from our kidney energy. So foods that really nourish our kidneys are really important. So those are some of my food suggestions. Oh, chocolate. How could I forget that? Dark chocolate, when I talk about magnesium, one of your best sources of magnesium come from dark chocolate. So cacao is an excellent source of magnesium and zinc even, and theanine, which is an important amino acid. So that's another one that I think pretty much throughout the whole year, dark chocolate, but do read the label and make sure you get organic. And, so I'm a big fan of chocolate in moderation.
Beautiful. I'm sure some people will be very excited about that. That's great. Great. Well, while we're on the topic of just, various things we might ingest, food or supplements, minerals, vitamins, I'm curious on your thoughts on the various herbs or vitamins or minerals that people sometimes take to ward off colds, like as a cold is coming on, feeling a little bit of sickness in your throat or something. What are your thoughts on taking things then to kind of stave off the onsetting illness?
Excellent question, Ben. I mean, I have to just to stay really close to home, and before I mentioned the Chinese pharmacopoeia, vitamin C is fantastic. In fact, pretty much those months I'm talking about, for the 6 months of October through March, I really highly recommend people get at least 2,000 to 4,000 grams of vitamin C every day. And I recommend getting that in a powdered form. Certainly foods that are high in vitamin C are a good choice too, but taking a good quality vitamin C in a powdered form in water is just super good. It's a great way to keep your antioxidant. It's a great antioxidant, so that helps scavenge the free radicals, because we're always dealing with toxicity in our bodies. Just by eating meals, we're creating toxins in our body, or breathing air. So vitamin C helps to kind of squelch, to kind of connect with those free radicals that are in our body and to move them out of the system. So a big fan of vitamin C.
And just a real quick question there, is the powdered form, does that mean that it's just easier for our bodies to take in rather than taking vitamin C tablets or pills?
Yeah. I'm looking at my form that I get from a good friend of mine, Dr. Gary Gordon, called Bioenergy bioenergy, and it has ribose in it, which is a really healthy sugar, actually, that's really good for the mitochondria. So mitochondria, we produce the energy in our mitochondria of our cells. So how are we producing energy, the ATP, right? So we want to think of all the goodness of the herbal world and food world. Of course, thinking about your immune system, number one, from food. But secondly, I do think clearly in today's world we need to supplement. I know I travel a ton, and I do take extra C, I do take extra D. So when I say vitamin D, about 5 grams I would recommend during these months a day. Even children, I have 2 teenagers, 13 and 15-year-old children, so I give them a minimum of 5,000, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. So that's really good. Echinacea golden seal, fantastic, but maybe for 10 days at a time. My number one suggestion for all of my travelers, for my patients, for any of you who want to have, sustained health in these months is oregano oil. I love it. To me, oregano in an emulsified form it's really one of the best herbal antibiotics known to man. I mean, it is something that, again, comes from the earth. It is antiviral, antibacterial, antimicrobial, antifungal. And I want to mention, Ben, too, that these months of winter, we tend to be indoors more, and, mold spores are, just so rampant in bathrooms and in filters, and people who don't, that's another important message I want to say. You want to always, from cleaning your chimneys to cleaning the filters in your house, really, really critical. Dust, it carries all kinds of stuff too, so really important to think about that. So oregano oil, that's how my kids never miss a day of school, year after year. The teachers are like, what do you do? How do you, and for me too, for 23 years, I've never missed a day of work because of course, I've got, an amazing pharmacy right here, and I do IV therapies and other things. But if I feel a cold coming on, if I'm getting a sinus irritation, because I just literally in the last week I've been on 7 planes, that oregano oil, I just kind of take it even preventatively before getting on a plane. I tell my patients for 3 days before you get on a plane, take some oregano oil just to upregulate your body. If you have some low-grade bacterial, viral, who doesn't? I mean, it's just part of life. We all do. And some of us are more prone to it than others, especially if we don't have a clean diet. So oregano is really great. I'm a big fan of essential oils, so if you don't want to ingest these, put them on the bottom of your feet when you go to bed, especially clove oil and oregano oil. So those are some of my, I could go on, but astragalus is another immune it really helps with your immune system. It helps build what's called your Wei Qi in Chinese medicine, so that's your defensive Qi. So for all of you listening and you've been part of this Winter Wellness series, that's what you want to think about, is empowering yourself each and every day of your life to feel well, to wake up with vitality, and to go to bed with energy. That's how we want to live and walk this life.
Indeed. Beautiful, Robyn. Thank you. I love just how much, everything that you're teaching is just such a product of what you're doing with your thousands of patients and with yourself and your kids day to day. So it's, very much integrated and proven, and it's beautiful. I really enjoy hearing all about it. So another question for you is, I know a lot of what we're talking about is ways to keep our immune system up and to stay healthy, and another, huge deterrent to our immune health is stress. So I'm curious if you could just speak to some of the ways we can deal with stress that comes up in the winter months, and especially with travel.
Again, I want to say something like a great antidote to stress is spending more time outdoors. That's one of my biggest, most important message that I share with my patients and just about everybody in my life is that we are so disconnected in today's world from the earth. And in the winter months, we tend to be inside even more. And so I'm just going to say one of the best antidotes to stress is just getting out in nature. If you work indoors, 40, 50 hours a week, take your lunch break or take your 15-minute breaks and just go outside, and just breathing in the air is one of the best things that you can do. The other thing I want to talk about is, it's interesting how some people are really resilient much more resilient than others, and I think it's our perception and our mindset. It's like, what is your perception about certain events? It seems to be that almost everybody I encounter today is just talking about how stressed out they are and how challenged they are just to get through the day. And I feel like that's a lot of someone's perception. And I think it was Shakespeare, who said that nothing is either good or bad, only perception makes it so. That's something, a tenet, I swear, that is probably the number one quote that I remember for myself, too. When like last week I was supposed to be in New York and I ended up in Denver overnight because LaGuardia was canceled. So for even myself and the people I was traveling with and the other people in the airport, just like, it's your, so what? It's a bummer, but that could be a very stressful event when we try to control things that we can't. So stress, I just want to say this. It produces over like 1,400 chemical reactions when you have a severe stress reaction. And immediately, one of the best antidotes other than being outdoors that I talk about all the time is just breathing, just connecting to your heart, taking a deep breath in and connecting to your heart and putting your hand, it's just a natural, reflex for me, but to just put my hand on my heart and just say, okay, everything's okay. And to recommend this to all my friends and patients too, just to hold yourself, and just say everything's going to be okay. And the people that are just living stressed lives all the time, I call that living in the red zone. When you're in the red zone, and the more you're in that zone, oh my goodness, that ages you. That accelerates your aging fast. And for all of you who are listening and being part of this series, that's why you're here. You want to age with grace. You want to extend your life, and you want to enjoy this extended life in day-to-day living. So to know that the stress is probably what they say 97% of all doctor's visits are stress-related. It's that sustained stress response that is very, very difficult, and it kind of eats up the goodness in your life. And you think about, B vitamins are the most important. We actually eat up our B vitamins in our body. So taking extra B, like a B complex, a really good food grade B complex, is another way to ensure your health with travels, but also to keep your immune system really strong. And it's just a good antidote to the stress response. And I want to just add one more thing, Ben, that I think is really key. And this has been a big part of my practice, especially in the last 13 years, when I've really done a deep dive into, for me, so I can be even a better practitioner for my patients, is to understand, moods and anxiety and depression, because it's an epidemic right now. And I have my patients take a test, and pretty much, people are depressed, they have low serotonin. And what I'm seeing more than anything is that people have low GABA. And GABA is probably, instead of, if you go to a doctor, a lot of times they'll say, oh, you're depressed, here, I'll put you on a drug, or you're anxious, let me put you on a prescription, when in fact you're just deficient in GABA, or you're deficient in tyrosine, or you're deficient in tryptophan. So these can easily be supplemented. And what's really beautiful about taking these supplements, which I prescribe on a day-to-day basis, is it's not like a life prescription, like a lot of the pharmaceutical world, which I really have issues with, because this is, for empowered people to know that there's another outlet that you can get on GABA if you have, continual stress on a day-to-day basis. Getting on that for a short period of time, 500 milligrams of GABA, it's a dream. I call it like a natural Valium. It is a game changer for so many people. And so for some people it's 5-HTP or tryptophan if they have low serotonin. But these months, when there's less light, this wintertime, we're more susceptible to depression. We hear about more suicides in the winter months, the seasonal affective disorder. So very often, again, just getting your zinc levels, your magnesium levels, your GABA will correct that.
Beautiful, Dr. Robyn. Really, really appreciate this. This is great. I mean, you're covering so much. And a question that comes to my mind is I remember last time we spoke, you mentioned a few kind of unique practices you did. I think one was just on the amount of coconut oil you ingested, and another was around the way you related to electronics. And you don't have to touch on those, but I'm just curious, is there any unique practices that you do in your own life that folks might incorporate into their lives that would be helpful for their health?
Great question, and it makes me think about the importance of sleep. So let's talk about the electronics, because I think that we're using them more than ever, and we just need to practice electro hygiene, I call it, where it's important to give yourself like 2 or 3 hours before you go to bed. Try to disconnect, and I want to also mention, because the sleep is absolutely essential to your immune system, to turn off anything within 3 feet. For that matter, just unplug almost everything in your bedroom. Make that like your dream zone, like literally a place where you are disconnected from technology, because that technology is also, it's creating these frequencies in your body that are foreign to you, and it affects your melatonin. Like many people know that's another very important neurochemical that we produce in our pineal gland. And so at nighttime, to think about wearing a mask, like cover your eyes or sleep in a very dark room. Invest in a $300 shades or blackout shades. You want complete darkness when you sleep. Really critical for deep restorative rest, because they're testing so many people and many students and teenagers for that matter, and they're seeing that they're not getting that deep REM sleep. So that's affecting your circadian rhythms, which, gosh, you mess with your circadian rhythms, which is very common with travel, right? So you really need to take those extra steps to practice electrohygiene, to sleep in a blackout room, and to, maybe supplement with a little melatonin. So it tends to be something that we're deficient into, or we're not producing enough of, so we're not sleeping as well. So that melatonin is really, really important, and that's also when we think about how we age, melatonin is really key for that, and finding a melatonin that works for you. And I recommend pretty much 1 milligram to 3 milligrams as needed, but not on a regular basis. I think you become immune to it, and you don't want to suppress your own body's ability to produce it.
Well, that all makes a ton of sense. Thank you. That's beautiful. Well, I actually see that we're coming towards the end of our time here. As time flies when we have so much to cover. It's really, really beautiful. I guess what I'd love to do is just kind of leave the space open to complete with just what are some final thoughts you'd like to leave listeners with? And you've covered so much, but any final tips, practices, mindset shifts? Just what would you like folks to move forward with and make change in their lives upon?
So in my book, as you mentioned, it's really about the Healthy Traveler's Guide, but smart and conscious travel, and it's really a metaphor for how we travel through life, how we want to be smart and how we want to be conscious, be aware and be active and proactive. And I think one of the best ways to ensure that we're doing that and that we're really connected to that innate intelligence that's inside us is how you start your day. I think that is really key. How you start your day just says it all in terms of, when you are really want to have a certain outcome at the end of the day, how you start it will help that the manifestation of what you want to happen in any given day. So the way I call it my START program. I don't think you ever shared this. Maybe I did when I taught my class for the Shift Network on self-care. I did go into this, but the START, the S stands for stretch and connect. So when you wake up in the morning, when you go from that deep rest to awakened state, just to stay in bed a couple more minutes and just to literally stretch your body, because what does an animal do when it first gets up? It always stretches its body. You just don't want to go up and get out of bed and shut off the alarm. It's nice when you can just connect to yourself. So stretching and really connect to yourself. So again, like waking up and putting your hand on your heart, or getting out of bed and just connecting to the earth and just saying that this is my source, this is my supply, my eternal supply comes from Mother Earth and Father Sky, but connecting. Just really, so it's an empowering way to start your day, so you're not letting this massive day with a huge schedule to direct each and every thought and emotion, and takes you away from self and and the source of yourself. So the T is again, touch, like really connecting to yourself and thinking about, who you want to touch in the day. Whether for me, it's how do I want to show up for my patients? How do I want to show up for my husband and my children? The A is for, even before you get out of bed, think about what are the 3 action steps, or what are the 3 achievements that you want to have in any given day. So when it's time for bed, what are those 3 things that you really want to accomplish? Rather than 50 things, think about those 3 things that are most important. And I think this really helps with productivity as well. And then the R has to do with rest, like scheduling 1 to 3 minute kind of cycles of rest throughout the day. So for me, what that looks like, I could have 3 patients in different rooms, and I'll come into my office, and I won't look at my computer. I'll just sit in my chair, and I'll just I'll just do a breathing technique for 2 to 3 minutes to really connect to my heart, to connect to my heartbeat. And just to do that 2 or 3 times a day is the reason that I can show up each and every day to the work that I love to do, and 23 years later to still say that I am so excited about my profession. And when I share this with other people, like people who come in and they're stressed every day, I just say, you know what, why, if you just do one thing, look at your schedule tomorrow and figure out where you can have 1 to 3 minutes of just a meditation, a breathing meditation, going outdoors for 3 minutes and just taking some, deep breaths in and just saying, okay, I want to remember who I am. This has been a wild day. Like yesterday was one of those days. I don't know if you had that, Ben, but it was kind of wild here. And it seems like whoever I talked to said yesterday was a pretty flary day. But you could always just come back to yourself. So, yeah. So that's, I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but the START program, to me, that is just an essential way to, get through your day. And the T is like, remembering talk, like how you talk to yourself throughout the day. Talk to yourself like you're the most beloved person on the planet, because, gosh, when we have this tape going on in our head, this monkey mind that's very, very difficult, very harsh for many of us. If we have 60,000 thoughts a day and many of those are negative, really activate this piece, this part of yourself, this subpersonality that's just sending you, raving reviews throughout the day. So, it's there. It's we can turn off that other piece of mind that's being, very negative, and turn on this other talking ahead in your mind that's running your life, saying beautiful things, and just say, you know what, Robyn, you're doing the best you can, with a very intense day and all these unexpected patients coming in and emergencies and 15 phone calls, and just say, you know what, and this is how I handled yesterday. I did take GABA. Like for me too, I'm actually, I practice a lot of what I preach, but when I have those days and I'm just thinking, you know what, I'm going to take, 500 milligrams of GABA because it keeps me in my center no matter what's going on, because I can't control the outer world, but it keeps my chemistry lab working for me rather than against me. So the START program is great, and I've shared that with lots of people, and I hope you found that of value and can take that into your day-to-day use.
That's great, Robyn. That's a perfect way to complete our call. Thank you so much, and thank you for a beautiful session. Such a pleasure talking with you.
Oh, it's always fun, Ben, and again, love being part of the Winter of Wellness, and the Shift is just rocking the world, just putting out such great messages, and it's been so fun to be part of it.
Yeah, thank you indeed for being part of it. Beautiful, and thank you all for being a part of it as well, and thank you for listening. You can learn more about Robyn's work at robynbenson.com or santafesoul.com. And we also encourage you to engage with us online at facebook.com/shiftnetwork. And just a reminder that if you'd like to have lifetime access to all these conversations, you can check out the Optimal Wellness Kit at winterofwellness.com/upgrade. Well, thank you all again for joining us. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and bye-bye for now.
Thank you for joining us for Winter of Wellness, brought to you by the Shift Network. For more information about joining our global community dedicated to helping people awaken to their divine humanity and take inspired action, visit www.theshiftnetwork.com. To learn more about the Winter of Wellness, the online collection of top experts on health and wellness, or to add all these interviews to your personal library, visit www.winterofwellness.com/upgrade. Thank you for sharing this summit with your friends and family. We appreciate your dedicated support. Dedicated support. Dedicated support. Dedicated support. Dedicated support. Dedicated